left then. So, Tasha, please, may you wait.
And I think I try to always find time when there are events that are involving youth, the younger generation, because when it comes to my portfolio, my responsibility on natural resources, on environmental sustainability, my most important stakeholder is the younger generation. One is because you are still able to change your ways. It's easier for you to change your ways compared to us who are not so young. Two, you have more at stake. People who are in the older generation have less time, I mean, on average, compared to you. So when you have more at stake with what's going to happen to the planet, 2050, for example, if I'm still around, I will be, can't remember now, but I should be 68, right, when 2050. So, if I'm still around, right? But most of you who are the younger generation will be there. You will be at the prime of your life. You will be in politics, you will be in business, you will be in civil society, and you will feel the brunt of whatever our mistakes, our shortcomings that we have from today. So, speaking to you is very, very critical. And I think there is a tendency, ASEAN has been around for quite some time. Even before I was born, ASEAN has been around. And when ASEAN came about, this was a region that was in the middle of the Cold War. We were in the middle of the nuclear rivalry between the different countries, and many parts of ASEAN were still relatively poor at that time. And so by becoming ASEAN, by coming together, countries, even neighboring countries, we had our strong rivalries. And I'm not talking about nasi lemak belongs to which country, right? We are talking about real geopolitical tensions. We had soldiers on the ground between different countries of ASEAN. So the decision to be together, to form ASEAN, was a very significant decision, and that has contributed to the peace and stability that we enjoy in this region. Today, ASEAN is a region of 670 million people. If you take Malaysia, we are just 35 million. But if we come together as ASEAN, we are bigger in terms of population than the European Union. If all goes according to plan by the year 2030, 5 years down the road, if ASEAN is one country, we will be the fourth biggest economy in the world. Can you imagine that potential? But we have to recognize that there are a lot of challenges. Yes, the European Union is a more cohesive political organization. We have to accept that. We are not there yet in that sense, or whether that is suitable for ASEAN, that is something that I think you should debate. But the other part is also, the fact remains that while we are not just talking about Singapore or Brunei, even Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok, Jakarta, Manila, if you take out these cities on its own, is very, very developed in terms of income, in terms of GDP. But there are many parts of ASEAN that are still left behind, that are still struggling, right? And so that is why we have to be able to address this issue. And then we have the environmental, the planetary crisis. Climate change is very real to ASEAN because we are one of the regions, and this is part of the IPCC report. We are one of the regions that are most susceptible to climate change. You look at the map of Indonesia, you can understand, or the map of Malaysia, or Philippines for that matter. We are also pollution, the issue of air pollution. There's a recent study that says that the growth of cancer or lung cancer death due to air pollution among non-smokers have increased significantly. So previously you say if you don't smoke, you are safe. Today, just by breathing the normal air out there, you are exposing yourself to various dangers to health. We also have our biodiversity. We have countries like Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia are one of the most mega diverse countries in the world. If I'm not mistaken, 1/4, 25% of all known species known to mankind exists in this small region called ASEAN. So how do we balance all this? We are still growing. We still have citizens of ASEAN who are looking for a better life. They need jobs. They need economic opportunities, and that will involve difficult decisions when it comes to what do we do with our forests, what do we do with our land, how do we provide homes for them. And this is where a just transition is very, very critical to ASEAN. And I think the role of Japan, I think, is very critical to this, because Japan is a country that is close to ASEAN and that has played a significant role in the growth and development of ASEAN since its inception. And we have to be able to find partnerships like this, because we know that the world out there is going back to what it was when ASEAN first came about. Okay, let's not talk about plastic straws or real estate projects. We know what it's all about, right? What's happening to the world. So in that situation, ASEAN must be able, and you have to be able to talk about why ASEAN is still relevant. It still matters, because let's face it, if we go on our separate ways, we are not going to make a lot of difference. We are trying to, for example, in COP30, to come together as an ASEAN bloc to have one position with regards to climate change. How do we address this, and how do we speak not as Malaysia, not as Singapore, not as Thailand, not as Laos, but as ASEAN? And I think that is something that we have to do more in various sectors that we are involved in. And I think we need to listen to you, because your ideas, your views are very critical. Often I get told that, oh, we need to increase the awareness among the younger generation about taking care of the environment, about taking care of the climate. But you know what? The younger generation are already aware, much more aware than my generation. Whenever my son sees trees being cut down, he will send a WhatsApp to me. He's 13 years old, and he says, you know, Abba, you're a lousy environment minister. So I know that your generation are very aware. You know what the problem is, but obviously you need the support from the so-called adults like us on how do we forge a path forward. And this is where I hope to listen to your ideas, to your views on how we can come together and bring together the power of ASEAN. Because in these uncertain times, when we have climate problems, when we have environmental challenges, when we have geopolitical uncertainty, ASEAN is very relevant to pull together all the resources and to find a solution together. Because it makes sense. What works in Malaysia, most likely, most of the time, maybe not all the time, but will tend to also work in Indonesia or in Singapore or in Philippines, because we are similar. We are from the same region, similar in culture, similar in economic structure, so on and so forth. Too often we go out of ASEAN, you know, as individual countries on our own to look for solutions outside, when the solution can be found in our own economies, in our own countries within the ASEAN region. And I think tapping into the opportunities, the support that Japan has given is very critical, so that we can truly ensure that ASEAN is not just one of the many acronyms that you have. In my job, you have so many acronyms with regards to COP, UNFCCC and all that. But we want ASEAN to be more than just an acronym, but it is a sense of identity that everyone feel that their future is within ASEAN, that ASEAN can provide a solution to the problems that we face today. Thank you very much.
How do we do an ASEAN handshake like this? All right, go ahead. The hand on top. Yeah, that's what I've been made to understand. Right hand on top.
We reclaim the single-use plastic bags.
I met you before, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
3 times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So this from the
Yes, directly.
Beras?
Beras. And then we compress it using the bowl so
Mm.
that it can be durable, stronger, and can use many times. Because of single-use shoe,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we try to extend the
life. Yeah.
And we engage with people.
Okay.
So it's all made by our women.
All right. Well then. Okay.